Today is Saturday, September 27th, 2025, and this is William Michael, the headmaster of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. In this talk, I'd like to help students who are studying Aesop's fable of the Mischievous Dog. The Mischievous Dog, this is lesson number 22 in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy's Aesop's Fables course. As we always do, we're going to read the fable very carefully so we make sure we hear all of the content of the fable. Then we'll walk through it and study all of the details to make sure we understand everything that we read. We'll then work on identifying a moral lesson from this fable, and then we'll talk about why Aesop chose to use the characters and events in the story that he chose. And lastly, we'll talk about how this fable and its moral lesson apply to our lives today so that we can learn to be good as a result of studying this ancient moral fable. So let's read together Aesop's fable of the Mischievous Dog. A certain man had a dog, which worried so many people that he was obliged to fasten a heavy clog about the dog's neck to stop him from such sport in the future. This, the stupid cur, took to be a mark of honorable distinction, and grew so vain in consequence that he turned up his nose at all the dogs he met. A sly old fellow, however, assured him that so far from having any cause to be proud of his burden, it was, on the contrary, a sure sign of disgrace. This is the fable of the Mischievous Dog. This is a short fable, but there's a lot of information to think about in it. Let's make sure we understand the basic details. We read that there was a dog, and this dog was owned by a certain man. We're not told anything about the man, but we're told what kind of dog this was or how this dog behaved. We read that this dog worried so many people. In other words, this dog bothered everyone in, let's say, the village where this man lived. The man had this dog, and the dog bothered all of his neighbors. We can imagine what was happening was that the man had the dog, and maybe the dog was in the backyard, and there was a fence and a gate, and the dog would get out of the fence or get through the gate or dig under the gate and get out and then go through other people's properties, run across other people's lawns, around their houses, maybe through their gardens, stuff like that. And the dog was just annoying to everyone, maybe caused all kinds of trouble, maybe hurt other people's pets, and so on. And the man doesn't seem to have been able to keep the dog where he belongs. And so what the man did was, it says he fastened a heavy clog about his neck. And this word clog is not used today very much, but what this means is the man put a big piece of wood, a big heavy piece of wood around the dog's neck. And he put that on his neck for a couple of reasons. First, to make it hard for the dog to move. Second, to make it easy to handle the dog. And third, to keep the dog inside of the fence so he couldn't squeeze through a hole or squeeze under the gate or anything like that. He had this big piece of wood tied around his neck. I can say that when I used to have goats on our farm, we had a bunch of goats, dairy goats, and we had a couple goats that would always cause trouble and try to get out. And we used to take the same thing. We used to take a big thick branch that we found in the woods that was maybe 2 feet long and was shaped like a Y, and we would put it around a troublemaking goat's neck so the goat couldn't squeeze out of the fence and get into the garden and things like that. So that's what this man does to his dog to help him keep it in and away from other people. So this dog is walking around with this big, heavy piece of wood tied around his neck. Another example we can think of to explain this is when prisoners are taken out of jail. Sometimes they have chains put around their legs, and you'll see in some old stories what's called a ball and chain. It's a big, heavy metal ball on a chain that's tied to a criminal, so he can't run away. He can't really do much because he's pulling this big, heavy ball and chain behind him. That's similar to this wooden clog tied around the neck of the dog. So the man was trying to keep this dog from bothering other people. But the fable tells us that this stupid cur, and that means a mutt, just sort of a mixed dog, not a very valuable dog. A mongrel is another word that's used for that. This stupid cur took that clog around his neck, took that big heavy piece of wood tied around his neck to be some kind of mark of honorable distinction, like it was something to be proud of. It was cool. And he grew so vain. That means to act in a way that's arrogant and prideful. So vain. In consequence of having this big piece of wood tied around his neck, that he turned up his nose at all the dogs he met. He imagined that this was something that made him better than other dogs, that made him cooler than the other dogs. He walked around thinking that he was cool because he had this big, heavy piece of wood tied around his neck. And then we read that a sly, that means a cunning or wise old fellow. It doesn't say whether it's another man or whether it's another dog. But a sly older fellow assured him, this foolish dog, that so far from having any cause to be proud, on the contrary, this clog around his neck was a sign of disgrace. And that's a really important idea. A sign of disgrace. A sign of disgrace. So this foolish, troublesome dog is punished with this clog tied around its neck, and it thinks it's cool. Whereas that clog tied around its neck is actually a sign of disgrace. So that's the fable, and that's an explanation of the details of the fable. But what is Aesop's moral lesson? What's the moral lesson of this fable? I think it's a very, very good fable for modern times. Let's just think simply about this dog. This dog is an annoying person. This dog represents a person who just annoys people. He's just annoying. He doesn't stay where he belongs. He doesn't mind his own business, and he gets into everybody else's stuff and just bothers people. He's annoying. He's annoying. And one thing about annoying people is they're very selfish. All they think about is themselves. They may not even realize that they're annoying. People don't like them. People wish they would go away. And that's what the people are thinking. When they see this dog, they say, "Ugh, I wish this dog would go away. So annoying." But here he is, bothering people, causing trouble. Who knows what he's doing, but he's just annoying. And everyone hates him. They wish he would just go away. And so his keeper has to do something. And the keeper doesn't like him either. The keeper thinks he's annoying. The keeper probably takes care of him, just wants him to stay in the backyard, stay in the gate. do what he is kept for, but the dog just has this instinct to constantly try to get out. The dog is just annoying. And so finally the man does something to try to force the dog to stay in and stop bothering people. And he puts this big thing around his neck. And what that big thing is, yes, it's a big piece of wood that's meant to keep the dog where he belongs. But that big piece of wood is also a symbol of something. It's a symbol that says, I am annoying. It's a symbol that says, I am annoying. It's a symbol that says, no one likes me. It's a symbol that I'm a real pain in the neck. And yet this dog is too dumb to think about reality. Now, there's a term that I'd like you to learn. It's called self-awareness. Self-awareness. And self-awareness is a certain kind of prudence, certain kind of wisdom. It's the ability to think about ourselves rightly, to be self-aware, to be aware of ourselves, to think about ourselves rightly. And this is something that modern people don't like to think about because modern people are very foolish. They don't have self-awareness. For example, let's say that you're with a group of other kids and you guys are playing and maybe you're running around, you're thinking about what you can do to have fun. You think this is funny or you think that's exciting. But the other kids don't like the things that you like. And kids are yelling at you to stop it, cut it out, stop being annoying, be quiet, leave us alone. And you don't have the self-awareness to realize that these kids don't like you. You're being annoying. Whereas a kid who other people like knows not to be annoying. And again, remember that the reason why people are annoying is because they're selfish. They're only thinking about themselves. And they look at other people just as objects for them to get their fun out of. They like to annoy people and bother people because they're just thinking about themselves. They're very selfish. And all the people around them are telling them, go away, leave us alone, stop being annoying, be quiet. And it's like the annoying person just doesn't realize what's going on. He's not self-aware. And so he bothers people and nobody likes him. And like this dog's keeper, sometimes his own parents don't like him because he's so selfish and annoying. And his parents may do things to keep him away from other people. They may say, you know what, Tommy, why don't you go up in your room and play some video games? We'll buy you a computer or we'll buy you some video games, a video game console, and you can just sit up in your room and play video games. Why don't you do that? Or why don't you go read a book? Why don't you go sit up in your room and read a book? But more likely it would be something like video games. When I was a kid, it was television. Why don't you go in your room and watch television? Watch a movie. Go watch some cartoons. And the kid might think that playing the video games, watching television, whatever it may be, is a sign that he's cool. Look how cool he is. He has this video game or that video game console, or he's got this toy, or he's got this or that. But what he doesn't realize is that the reason why he was given that was because people want him to leave them alone. And if he would be more thoughtful, he would realize that it's not something to be proud of at all. In fact, he should be embarrassed that people around him would tell him to go someplace else and do something. But he has no self-awareness. He doesn't think about the real message that other people are telling him. They're telling him that they would like him to go away because he's bothering them. And it's important for us to realize that, to realize times when we're being annoying. We're annoying people, we're bothering people, we're hurting people. People don't like to be with us. People are telling us to go away. People are doing things to make us go away. And we should think about that and realize that if people liked to be with us, if we were nice to be with, if we were fun to be with, if other people enjoyed when we were around, they wouldn't tell us to go do something else. They wouldn't send us away. They would be calling us to come and be with them. And so rather than being something cool, it's actually a sign of disgrace. And we can think of many examples of this. People being told to go away, leave us alone, stop being annoying, be quiet. And the annoying people often not listening to what people are telling them and just being more annoying until finally someone does something to put them away. Or their parents do something. So we need to be self-aware. This fable teaches us the importance of self-awareness, to think about our behavior, to be embarrassed that we annoy people, to be embarrassed that we bother people, to never think that's funny, to never think that's cool, but to be embarrassed by annoying behavior. We should desire to be friendly and helpful to other people. We should be respectful. We should be kind to other people. We should see people wanting to be with us, not telling us to go away. We shouldn't be like this mischievous dog. And if we are sent away, we shouldn't think that it's cool. We should be embarrassed. We should be ashamed of our behavior when people tell us to go away. It's not funny to be annoying. And so that's the moral lesson of this fable, not to think that it's cool to be made to stay away from people, because people will find a way to make you stay away. Sometimes a kid who's really annoying will end up getting punched in the nose. Or he'll walk around with a big black eye because somebody socked him in the eye because he was bothering them, being annoying. It's not cool to be annoying. We should be ashamed to be identified as annoying people and not think it's cool. So that's the moral lesson. And why would Aesop choose these characters? Well, he chooses a dog because everyone has dogs, and we know how dogs are. We know how annoying a dog can be. Sometimes dogs are good. We've got a dog, a King Charles Spaniel, that's the perfect dog. He's just obedient, he's fun, he loves to be pet, he loves to play, and if you tell him, go lay down in your bed, he'll just turn right around and run into his bed and lay down. He's a good dog. We have another dog, a husky, that's obnoxious. He tries to dig under the gates, he tries to get out of the backyard, he runs around the house. He's an annoying dog. And we all know what annoying animals can be like, whether it's a dog or a goat or a chicken or even a cow. We had a cow once jump over a pasture fence. That's an annoying cow. So Aesop uses a dog because it's something that we all can understand. And you may have been bothered by an annoying dog. We had a German shepherd that used to run around our farm. It was our neighbors who lived down the road, and the dog would show up and run around and just bother the animals or go through the garden, things like that, just being annoying, running around. So we know what it's like to have an annoying, mischievous dog around. Hopefully not ours. And then this idea of tying the heavy clog around his neck, it just shows that the master is just trying to do anything he can because this dog is just annoying. He's trying anything he can. And he finally just ties a big heavy piece of wood. It shows us that sometimes you have to do whatever you have to do in order to stop someone from being annoying. And then he shows us the foolishness, the vanity of this dog, just walking around, thinking one thing, not being self-aware while everyone else is looking at him saying, what a foolish person. What a foolish dog this is, thinking he's cool because he's got this big, ugly thing stuck around his neck as if it's some kind of trophy, when it actually is a sign that says, hey, look at me, I'm obnoxious, I'm annoying, nobody wants to be with me. And then he's warned to think with self-awareness and realize that he is wearing a sign of disgrace. So it's easy for us to understand this fable because of the behavior of a dog, which is very common. Now, as for applications, I gave some before. It's pretty simple, but we have to learn to not be annoying. And the key to that is not being selfish. When we walk into a room, we should be quiet. When we walk up to other people, we shouldn't bother them or interrupt them. We shouldn't walk into a group of people and start talking over them. We should be quiet. We should be kind to other people. We should be respectful to other people. Jesus gives a good lesson about this. He says, if you're invited to a banquet and you walk into the dining area and there's tables and chairs set up, where should you sit? What an annoying person will do is think of what would be the best place to sit to be closest to the important people, or to be at the center of the table or at the head of the table where he could get a lot of attention. That's how a selfish person thinks. That's how an annoying person thinks. And Jesus tells us to be self-aware. He tells us to sit at the lowest seat, to take the worst seat at the table. That's what a person who's self-aware would do. That's what an unselfish person would do. And Jesus explains why you should do that. He says, first of all, if you take a high seat, the master or the person who is hosting the dinner may look at you and say, what are you doing sitting up here at the head of the table? Get out of here. Go sit down at the end of the table. Or go sit at the kids' table in the other room. Why would you think to sit up here at the head of the table? How disrespectful. Have some self-awareness. And you'd be sent away and everyone would laugh at you and you'd be embarrassed. Jesus said, don't do that, or you'll be embarrassed. He said, rather, what the smart thing to do would be is to take the lowest seat at the table. Take the worst seat. Because two good things can happen if you take the low seat. If you're really not important and no one really wants to sit by you or give you attention, you can sit there and you won't be embarrassed. You can sit there, enjoy the dinner, and mind your own business and go home afterwards. But even better, if you are important and people do want to be with you, they do want to sit with you, they do want to give you attention and bring you up higher to the head of the table, you will be honored in the presence of all the other guests. And so if you take the lowest seat, the only thing that can happen to you there is a good thing. You're either left alone to enjoy your dinner, or you're called up to a higher seat. But if you try to take the higher seat because you're selfish and you have no self-awareness, you may be embarrassed in front of everyone when they tell you to get out of here and go sit someplace else. So that's a good lesson in self-awareness and humility. Don't be selfish. Don't be annoying. Think of other people first. Do to others what you would like for someone to do to you. Never be annoying. It's not funny. It's not cool. It's not cute. Other people may try to be nice to you, but they're going to try to avoid you in the future because you're annoying and selfish. So learn to think about your behavior. Learn to think about your behavior. Have self-awareness. Don't be annoying. Don't think it's cool when other people tell you to go away or leave them alone or be quiet or stop annoying them. Don't think that's cool. It's not cool. You should be ashamed of that. If someone tells you stop being annoying or go away or be quiet or leave us alone, you should probably tell them that you're sorry for the way you were acting. Try to be friendly. Be respectful to others. Be kind to others. Give others a chance to take a turn. Take the low seat at the table. Think about other people. Put other people first. If you put other people first, they'll want to return the favor to you. And that's a good thing. But don't be annoying. Have self-awareness. And you can think of many, many different ways to apply that lesson to your life. So this is Aesop's fable of the mischievous dog, a lesson about self-awareness, a lesson about avoiding vanity and arrogance, not being annoying. It's a good lesson for us today. It's a good lesson that teaches us how to act with other people, how to make friends, how to be well-liked in a good way, not in a bad way, but in a good way, because we're kind and humble and respectful. We think of others. We're unselfish and so on. That's the lesson of the mischievous dog.